Let's get started.
All right, everybody, and welcome to the Bonus Stage Podcast, episode number 10. As always, I'm your host, Lloyd Hannison, and joining me, and depressed because his Blue Jays aren't in the postseason, Jeff Ward.
I don't know if there's much to be depressed about, seeing as like they've been mathematically eliminated for around 65, 70 days now. But
that's why you've been so upset for the last couple months. It all comes together.
It all adds up. The regular season's over, but I'm watching the postseason, and it's these one-game playoffs. Although I don't really agree with them as a thing, but actually pretty exciting because it's just like watching a Game 7 playoff game. So. Just like looking for the scores for Baltimore right now. So, but I mean, it's like what, maybe another 10 days worth of baseball, and then I'll have no baseball to talk about. And unless you guys want to hear me yammer on about MLB the Show.
What 12. Will we ever do, Jeff? I ask you, without any hint of sarcasm in my voice, Jeff. What are we gonna do?
I don't know. I think we're going to have to disband the entire podcast until spring training.
Yeah.
I mean, there is, however, Winter Ball, which I can get into if you guys are wanting updates. So,
Winter Ball.
Yes. It's when they send a lot of minor league players and just players that they want, in the bigs to kind of just like keep playing at the level they're playing. They send them to a warmer climate, usually South America, and they play Winter Ball for a couple of months just to kind of keep warm. Physically it's a straight. The Major League Baseball is very, very strange.
I'm sure everybody right now listening is thanking you, Jeff, for cluing them in to what Winter Ball is.
People listening to this as a podcast are like, yeah, next.
They're like, delete. That's enough baseball. No more.
You know what? I always think if people are listening to the preview in iTunes and this section right here where I yammer on about baseball for 8 or 9 minutes is the section they hear, like, what the hell kind of gaming show is this?
Exactly.
And then they just tune right out. I'm just like taking listeners and throwing them in the garbage basically because of me talking about baseball.
That's your job, throwing people under the bus and listeners in the garbage.
That's why you brought me on.
That's what it is. Yeah. Awesome. So Jeff, what besides watching baseball? And you're not talking about MLB the Show anymore. Remember, you made that you made the deal with the listeners that it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and it's not on my list. It's not on my list, even though I have been playing it. It's just, what the hell else do I say about it? I've reviewed the game 90 times now.
Is it good though? Is the real question.
It is.
No, I'm not. Just joking. No, don't. What have you been playing, my friend?
This week has been a really good week for just kind of sitting in your house and just playing some video games. It's been
damn cold. It's been damn cold, is what it's been.
Cold. Well, like not damn cold, but cold. The coldest we felt in quite a while after a very, very hot summer. So, it's just been kind of nice, just like sit in front of the TV, blanket, and just play some video games. So, believe it or not, I woke up this morning. Girlfriend had the day off work, and I hear her playing Final Fantasy VII on the PS3 in the living room. So I go out and I'm watching her play it and stuff, and I'm like, you know what? As much crap as I talk about this game, and I do, I'm like first to admit the one that I hammer on this game for a lot of things.
It's the game you hate, Jeff, is what it is. You detest this game.
People think I hate it, but to be completely fair, and I've never started an argument against the game without saying this first, I do love the game. I just have a lot of problems with it. But what I did was I pulled out my Vita, and I remember the only PS1 game I have on here is Final Fantasy VII, and I started playing it again, and I'm kind of hooked into it. There are some things that have not aged very well in Final Fantasy VII, but I am surprised at how many things have aged really well. I think the pace of the game is kind of all over the place, but there are some really, really big set pieces in this game, and I was just, I'm only about an hour into my campaign on the Vita, so I haven't really found a set piece yet, but I've been watching Carly play. She's much farther ahead, and there are a lot of pretty pretty interesting, very interesting moments.
Yeah.
Once you kind of get out of Midgar, because that whole section of the game I just freaking hate. It's just,
It's boring. The whole train battle and jumping
yeah,
on and off, that stuff. I mean, I understand why it's there, but it's not good. But
yeah.
then once you get past that, I mean, oh, it's so much fun. Like
Yeah, there's
hunting.
one part in Midgard that's really really good, and that's when I think it's sector 8 comes down.
What game
when
have you been playing? That sounds
yeah,
much more interesting.
it's the porno version of Final Fantasy 7.
Nice.
I think it's called Final Fantasy 7 Inches.
Wow.
But
You went there. Good.
yeah, I had to.
Good.
The part where I believe it's sector 8 like collapses and kills everybody underneath. That's actually really kind of shocking moment. And it might not seem like it today because it's like, oh, who cares? But like if you kind of put yourself into that world, which is what I like to do when I play video games, is try to imagine myself in the position of whatever character I'm playing.
Hmm.
It's like a huge amount of people that were just like smushed, basically, just killed. I mean, it's insane to kind of think about. And
Yeah.
but yeah, other than that, like I hate Midgar so much. It's not very nice to look at either, and maybe that's what they were going for, so that when you get out into the world, you're like, hey, well, this is
A
fantastic.
whole real world that I can go explore.
Yeah. So and I also feel like eventually, you and I talk about this every once in a while, but eventually we're going to do an episode where we just talk about Final Fantasy VII, because as many problems as I do have with it, it changed the game, and I can't deny that, and I don't think there's anybody who can deny that it changed things in the gaming industry, and for the better too.
Mm-hmm.
So I do want it to be kind of fresh in my mind, because the last time I played through it has to be probably 4 years ago or so now, and that's a long time to really kind of have any valid opinion on it. If somebody says a movie sucks and it's like, okay, when was the last time you watched it? 5 years ago. Well, oh yeah, half a decade, and you remember everything about it. And this is a huge game, so I want to freshen my memory, and I'm actually having a lot of fun with it, as I usually do. So
Yeah, I have an idea.
yeah.
What we should do is we should live stream an entire playthrough of Final Fantasy VII. Me and you sitting in my basement playing Final Fantasy VII and live streaming it, and just being like starting off like fun and happy and joyous, and then near the end you just get belligerent and
Do you want to do an entire like front to back of the game in one sitting?
yeah. I mean,
Are
it's
you out of your
gonna be almost
mind?
impossible because it's like 40 hours, but we
Oh,
could go
yeah.
about as far as we possibly can, and maybe do it in like 2 chunks, 2 weekends, a month apart or something.
Wow, it sounds like a lot of fun, just because you'd probably get very real reactions of what we actually think about the game as it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So just like almost as an experiment, I think it would be fun. But I can't imagine it would be very fun to watch, especially like around hour 19 or 20, when we just hate each other and hate life.
See, because you don't drink, right?
I do not.
And I will just be drinking so much beer, it will not even be fun. I'll be passed out, and you'll still be playing. It'll be great.
It's a strange game, and there's so many weird. One of the things that I've really noticed in this playthrough, and it might be due to the poor translation, because this game does have a very poor translation, as most of them do, coming from Japan around that era. Never really had good translations, but there seems to be a very high amount of like racist kind of like writing on Barrett's character, just
Yeah.
like the way he says things. It has to be, oh, Barrett's a black character, so
What
he
you talking
probably-
about, sucker?
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
like, wow, and I never noticed that before. I just thought
Yeah.
because he was a big aggressive guy,
No,
that's how he wrote it.
He's modeled after B.A. Baracus from A-Team, so he has kind of like the
so
same kind of personality, and it's just like, wow,
it's hardcore stereotype.
yeah, big time.
Yeah,
Big time.
so I mean that kind of put me off a little bit, but I'm like, you know what? It's also so over the top and silly that I don't think you could be offended by it. I think they went to the right degree, where it was like, we're going to make this guy a stereotype, but he's going to be so over the top that you're not going to care.
I don't-
Even if you're like a Black Panther, you're not like, well, that's you're not even going to be offended by it, because it's just so ridiculous.
I don't think they would even thought that much. Like,
Yeah,
like
maybe.
I've watched a lot of like Japanese television shows that have been like subtitled and stuff, and there's a lot of like blatant racism about like Western society on a lot of the shows that I've seen. So I think that might just be a cultural thing. Like they're not trying to be overly racist. That's just the way that they portray certain character types.
Yeah.
Could
Yeah.
be. But yeah, it's definitely kind of weird when you see it now. It's like, wow, yeah, that didn't age at all.
No, it did not. It did not. But yeah, like I said, it's still a really fun game, and my favorite thing about the game, the last thing I'll talk about before we move on is the limit breakers. I think that is just something.
It was cool. I mean, the whole system, like the whole
really
combat
like
system, like the limit breakers, you have the special attacks. Like as soon as you unlock Knights of the Round and you watch the 7-minute intro that plays when you do it, the materia
is cool, yeah.
like materia kind of growing and aging and then having its own little materia babies that you can then use and put in other weapons and things. Like it was just, there were so many like really interesting things about the combat, which took it from go to forest, walk around forest, get in random battle, kill ants, kill tree people, whatever, level up, increase your stats, rinse and repeat. Like it gave you some other things to do, which most other RPGs didn't have. If you look at other Final Fantasies, like the first Final Fantasy on NES, there was very little RPG about it as RPGs exist now. Then you get into some of the other ones.
It was like in comparison to what 7 is, like it's night and day. It's not nearly a full on action game.
It was a loot hunt basically. You're trying to find the better weapon and the other characters and better magic, and then going and doing it. Final Fantasy basically made a game that is playable hundreds of different ways between the characters that you use, their skills that you use, the weapons that you use, the materia that you use, the summons that you bring in. It was interesting. It really kind of changed the game, and it allowed for different like totally different play styles to go through and still enjoy the game. Like I know people that basically spent almost all their time in Final Fantasy VII breeding chocobos because that's what they wanted to do. And they wanted to get the black chocobo, so they did all they could do to breed all the different colored chocobos, and that was fun to them. And other people I know, they went and hunted down every single summon and got Knights of the Round, and then went and killed like crappy enemies with Knights of the Round just so they could laugh with the like quad 9 damage that they're doing.
And it's an enemy that's probably got less than 100 health, and then all of a sudden this number pops up after a 6-minute cutscene. It's like 3,409.
Yeah,
like,
totally. Yeah, it's just, I mean, I don't know. We said that we'd save Final Fantasy VII for its own episode, so maybe we should do that. But
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it just did so much for the industry, and it basically kind of, as you said, it changed the game. So
yeah,
that's
why you know what, as
that's
much
why it still
as I talk
resonates.
about it, it's super fun to talk about. Like really, really fun to talk about. Which is whichever side you're on for the game, it's still one of those things that like everybody can talk about it if you've played it before. It's just one of those ones that's it's a watershed game, and it makes for such great discussion. But,
exactly.
So yeah, I've only been playing it for maybe an hour today, so that's just from an hour of playing it. But yeah, really, really like it, and I'm going to continue to play it. I might even consider putting in a good stint and trying to beat it, but it's been years since I even tried to beat Final Fantasy VII because it's so long. The other thing that I played this week, and I actually downloaded a few games for iOS, but I haven't played them enough to talk about them. I think I'll probably save them for next week.
Sure.
But Resident Evil 6 obviously came out this week. Not last week, but the week before. We did our top 10 most anticipated games. And Resident Evil 6, I believe, was my number 6. And I put it that high because the demo of the game really kind of brought me back, and I was like, I don't know if this is going to be very good. And when we do the review a little bit later on, I actually brought in another friend of mine who's listened to the show all the time. His name's Trevor. He's kind of a Resident Evil expert like me. It actually is really, really fun, but it really should only be played by certain people because of how shaped the gaming industry is now around games like this. But again, we'll talk about it when we get to the review section.
Sure.
But I beat Leon's campaign last night. It's going to be a good conversation for sure.
So what's this here? You can't pause in the game at all? Like it
So,
happens. Like you'll get into that in the review, but is that actually true?
It is true.
Oh my god!
But there's essentially I was doing it the wrong way. So when you start up the game, again, we'll talk about it more in the review. But really quickly, I'll just address it.
We could just get to it in the review. You don't even.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, we'll do it in the review then.
I heard that and I just kind of shook my head and said next. Kind of.
Yeah, it was frustrating because I did nearly 2/3 of it without pausing, and I was like, I have to take a piss sometime. Like, what the hell is going on?
Nice, cool.
What about you? What have you been playing this week?
So I've been playing actually a fair bit. As I said last episode, I've been playing Skyrim, and I wanted to basically destroy Skyrim, finish all that I wanted to finish in the game, and I got pretty damn close to doing that. I beat the full main quest line. I was at about 120 hours before when I picked it up again. When I picked it up again after not playing for a while. I was at about 120 hours, and I think I'm at about 150 hours now on my save game. So just a stupid amount of gameplay on this game. It's like 147 hours, I think, is what it is. And so I beat all of the quests that I was working on. I did the rest of the mage quest. I did the so the rest of the main quests, the mage quest. I started the Dark Brotherhood quests, and I did some more of the Thieves Guild. And basically I'm to the point now where I think I'm kind of done with Skyrim, at least maybe for a while. Maybe I'll take a break. I got an idea where I wanted to get all the trophies for Skyrim so I could platinum it. And then I looked at the trophies that I'm missing, and one of them is basically bring the Thieves Guild to its
full potential.
Full potential, where basically you have to do 5 random quests in each of the 9 major cities, I think it's only 5. It's not every city; it's 5 of the major cities. So you have to do 5 random ones, but they're random. So you'll go ask for quests, and you might not get quests for those cities. So you can either turn them in or cancel them and get the other people pissed off that are giving you the quest. So I did one, and I got most of the way to doing a second one, and I'm just like, you know what? I think I'm kind of done with this. I'm kind of done with sneaking to someone's house, stealing a vase, and then going back. Especially since, like, with Skyrim, like, especially if you're going back to the Thieves Guild, you exit the house where you stole something, so that's a load time. You fast travel back to the Thieves Guild, so that's another load time. You enter the Thieves Guild, which is another load time, and then you have to go into another part.
Ragged Flagon, right?
So you're in the cistern, but then you have to go to the Ragged Flagon. So there's like 5 load times just to turn the quest back in. And after you've been playing for a while, like, my save games are about 15 megabytes, so the load is taking forever. So it's like it must be like a minute 20 for each load time. So I'm like, okay, I can turn in the quests and wait 10 minutes of just watching the television and swirling smoke, or I could go play a game that I really like. So I think I'm done with Skyrim for a bit. If the DLC comes to the PlayStation 3, I'll probably pick it up, and I think I'm only missing 4 trophies anyway, so
that's not very many.
I'll probably put them down. Like, another one is the Daedric artifacts. I think I only need 1 more Daedric artifact.
Is that the masks, right?
Well, it's all the different artifacts, like the the mace, or the Mehun's razor, or the Azura's star. There's a whole bunch of different Daedric artifacts that you can find, and I think I only need 1 more, but I think I screwed it up. I think I killed the guy when I should have not killed the guy, so I didn't get that artifact. So I'm gonna have to go and research that, because if that is if that's what I did, I will have to start again to get that trophy. And I won't be doing that. So anyway, it's it's fun. I'm Skyrim's on the shelf now. I put it away, and I'm done with it. And part of the reason why I'm done with it is I did go out and pick up Borderlands 2 last Friday. So we didn't record a show last Friday. Jeff was kind of in a coma, so we didn't do a show.
I was in a bad way.
So I ended up playing Borderlands 2, and I've been playing a whole crap load of Borderlands 2. I'm going to talk a little bit more in our kind of reviews section. It's not going to be a full review because I haven't completely beat the game, because I'm doing all the side quests as well. But I love Borderlands 2. I really do. So anyway, I can't wait to talk about it later in the show.
Yeah, you're bringing up a good point about some of Skyrim's shortcomings, and that Thieves Guild one, I believe for me, it's a 30-point achievement, so it's a pretty big achievement. And it was something that I thought I was going to get after I had just finished the Thieves Guild questline, which, by the way, is really, really fun.
It is.
I think that's one of the better side quests in the entire game, and it is a blast to play.
Yep.
Even if you're not good with, like, sneaking and stealing and stuff, it's a good story. And it puts you in a lot of cool locations. But you got, first of all, you can't get bulk quests. You can only get one at a time.
Yeah.
So if you do get one, you got to go out and do it and then come back. And like you said, for guys like us, I put in just north of 80 hours, so my saves are still pretty big, nowhere near yours, but it takes around 30 to 45 seconds for a loading time, which is admirable, I would say, because of how much they're saving and loading at the same time. But yeah, as much as I want to get it, it's not worth it to me, and it's too many quests, I think, as well too, to get that achievement.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it's
Yeah, you have to do like
punishing.
I think it's 25 random quests, but yeah, if you don't get the right ones and you don't want to accidentally piss the people off by like quitting out of too many and so they won't talk to you for a while, you basically you're doing it. And yeah, I don't know, that one is a little kind of crazy, so I don't know if I'm going to be completing that one, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. If the DLC comes out, I'll probably get back into Skyrim.
Oh yeah, and I saw an update from I don't know what the guy's name is, but he works at Bethesda. He is one of the heads of their department, and he was saying that they still have no updates on DLC for the PS3, which is really, really unfortunate, because
It sucks.
not that you guys are like missing out in such an extreme way, like
No.
Dawn Guard wasn't like an earth-shattering DLC, but
when
it
you
puts
buy
you back in that world.
when you buy a game like this that DLC's coming out, you buy it with kind of the expectation that down the road you're going to be getting DLC. Like what they'll maybe do then is wait for all the DLC to come out that they want to release, and they'll release a GOTY version of it so that you have to pick that up and maybe play the DLC that's all baked in. Maybe that will be the way to do it.
Possibly, and that would suck.
It would suck. Well, if it's compatible with my save game, maybe it wouldn't be that bad, because GOTY versions are usually about $30, and all the DLC might be close to that, so it'll probably be more than that actually. So maybe that might be a way to
unless
do
they
it.
decide to give you a discount, like when it does come out, I would really hope that they would put a discount on it because of how long in wait it's been.
Yeah.
Because if you're on the console, and I really want to get a gaming PC, just because the modding community is at a situation now where it's just like flush with amazing content every day. Like
Yep.
you could buy Skyrim and keep adding mods to it and never get bored of it, and that's amazing to me. $60 game with a huge amount of value, $1,000 value in the game.
Yeah.
But because we're on the console, we are at the mercy of the developers, which is why I bought Hearthfire. I didn't buy it because I thought it would be good. I bought it because if I want to stay in that world and this is going to give me some busy work to do, $5 I think is fair for that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well,
But it sucks for PS3.
Well, I saw a mod today, which was a Super Mario Brothers mod where
Girlfriend sent me that, yeah.
where they basically redid all of like one of the original Super Mario 64 levels, and they turned your Dragonborn dude into Mario with a big ass hammer, or a fire plant, a fire flower, which is a staff, and they modeled some Koopas and some Goombas, and even modeled Bowser, and it's just like, wow, that's pretty cool. Can't do that on a console. So yeah, PC's pretty awesome. Like I'd love to have a gaming PC again. I can't keep up. Like it's such a treadmill.
It is.
I love, like I work in IT and I fix computer problems all day. Last thing I wanted to do was come home and work on more computer problems. So that's why I went to Mac, because there's less problems. Not to say there aren't any, because there are some from time to time, but there's less. And I use consoles now for my gaming, but there's part of me wants to get back into PC gaming really, really bad.
Yeah, and I've been looking, like every time I go to Future Shop, I see computers that are desktops. I still have mouse and keyboard and monitor for my old gaming PC, and it's like $600, and it'll get you a computer that's 4 times as powerful as my rig right now that I bought for $2,200, but that was 4 years ago. Pretty impressive. That in itself isn't like a gaming PC, but I could use it to play games, and I probably wouldn't have to upgrade for, maybe if I'm lucky, around 10 months to 12 months. And even then, that's like, I could still play on, I don't have to play on extreme settings all the time. So I'm still really, really thinking about it. Could be one of those purchases in the coming years, maybe in like January or something, if there's like a really good Boxing Day sale.
Yeah.
The next thing I got to buy though is a new iMac or a Mac Pro, just because my rendering issues and video stuff is starting to kill this computer, frankly. It's just starting to kill it.
One day we just won't have a show anymore because Jeff won't be able to get online.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do have my laptop right here, and that's still good. I only really use it for kind of like smaller issues and writing screenplays, that kind of shit.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I guess that's it for what I've been playing. I mean, Borderlands, I mean, we went back to talk about Skyrim again, but yeah, Borderlands is so good. Everything that was good about the first one is better in the second one. So maybe I'll talk about a little bit more of it after the break, or after we get into kind of reviews. Did you want to do your review now, Jeff?
I mean, we can, or if you want to take a quick break and just kind of make sure that we've got everything settled. But I think we're really good, right? All I got to do is just fade up Trevor, and we're ready to rock.
Yeah, I think we are. So we're going to bring in Trevor Allen. He's another local Winnipegger. So I'll turn up his mic. So Trevor,
A loyal bonus stage listener.
how is it going, Trevor?
Good. How you guys doing?
Doing really good.
Good.
See, he has a good setup,
Just caught me in
Jeff.
the middle of a drink.
He does. You know what? And the thing is, like, when I went out and bought this mic for these dudes, Lloyd was like, "Oh, you don't really have to spend that much money right away, And
Just get a
I was
headset.
like, no, yeah. You're like, just get a headset. And I was like, no, I really like the quality of this thing, which it does have good quality, but it's USB, and there's only so much
Well,
quality you can get out of USB.
that's not true. You can get microphones that are part USB and part XLR, and they're actually really good. And the quality of the microphone sometimes doesn't matter. It's microphones that are tuned for your voice is really what the bigger problem is.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you get a mic that's a condenser mic like that one, you pick up everything in the room. Where if you
Yeah.
get a non-condenser mic, you're doing a little bit better. Dynamic
Yeah,
mics
and
work a little bit
I do
better.
wish that I had something different, and I still think this is a fantastic mic just for what I'm using it for. But eventually down the line, I'm going to get something that's a little bit better, because as soon as we were talking to Trevor in the pre-show, I heard his gear, and I was like, oh my god, this is like night and day. What is he? Is he like in your room talking on your microphone? That's how good it sounds.
No, he isn't.
Yeah, I'm sure he's not. This is just Lloyd's passive-aggressive way of forcing me to get new gear.
You need to get a new video camera first. Get a new webcam, and then we'll be good. Because then you can do HD video, and it will look better.
Yeah, I guess you can do HD video now because of the laptop, right?
Yeah, and I do I broadcast 720p on the video stream.
I mean, this is just the eyesight camera. They're fine, but they're not
Cool.
great. But
Well,
anyway,
let's stop talking about
what the hell are we
technology.
talking about here? Jeez, so this is a gaming review show. So I brought Trevor in because, like myself, he is a Resident Evil expert. We've been living and breathing the franchise for years. Trevor, you've been into it since Resident Evil 4. You were telling me, right? Like really hardcore.
Yeah, that was the game that kind of really got me into it. But I've been playing since like the first game.
Yeah, me too. Been a fan of the franchise since '98 when Resident Evil 1 came out. There has not been an iteration of Resident Evil that I have played, and quite a few of them I've regretted. Most recently, the thrashing that I gave Operation Raccoon City on, was it these dudes? Was it that long ago? I think it was, actually. But that game was just horrendous. It was just, it was one of the worst games ever. And I remember at that time saying that if Resident Evil 6 is not good, this will probably be the last Capcom game I ever buy, because I think it's pretty commonplace now to think that Capcom has dropped the ball for like the last half decade at least. I mean, I don't even remember the last time they really put out a quality game. Maybe Street Fighter 4.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's probably the last one. But Resident Evil 6 comes out this week, and we both kind of had the same, because we were talking about Twitter. We're talking on Twitter about it. We both had the same kind of apprehension when we played the demo, just like how it made us feel, because of it was just strange. I don't really know any better way to describe it. Can you think of a way?
It was definitely different. I think that was the most like shocking thing, is everyone probably got it and thought, oh, this is gonna be like Resident Evil 5, and it was completely different.
Yeah, it was. Like from ground up, you've got a completely different aiming scheme, which is actually something I kind of want to talk about right off the top. The aiming in this game is very hard to describe, but essentially, I believe what they tried to do is make it maybe more realistic by having the reticle kind of dance around your crosshairs. So you've got your crosshairs in the middle of the screen when you pull up your gun, but the reticle, the aiming dot, dances around, and sometimes it like latches on magnetically to certain body parts, and sometimes it doesn't. It's a tricky thing to get used to it. How long did it take you to kind of figure it out?
I got used to it pretty quickly. By the time I got to about maybe the second or third chapter, it was kind of getting easier. But I think it might actually have to do with like the recoil and the guns and stuff.
Yeah, actually that does make a little bit of sense, because it does,
because that's an actual upgrade. Like when you start getting like points and stuff, you can upgrade your recoil. So I think maybe that might adjust some of that tendency in the aiming.
Yeah, like you know, in Resident Evil 5, if you were in a position where there was just like you were surrounded by zombies, you could just pull up a gun and just as fast as you can fire, you know, you would hit every target as long as your reticle was on it. But if you were firing really fast with the handgun, you would miss more than 50% of your shots.
Right, right. But that's they've kind of compensated with that with the if you like on I don't know on what it is on Xbox, but if you press like L1 and R1 at the same time, it does like a quick shot, and that kind
Yeah,
of like just grabs the nearest target and shoots it, so you can kind of get out of a jam.
yeah, but that does use your like your power gauge, your stamina gauge a little bit, right?
Yeah, yeah, it goes down a bit.
Yeah, so this is actually one of the things that like in the beginning I hated. I hated the new melee system. But once I kind of started using it and like I would save my ammo and just go up and melee people, it was actually really really fun. So at any time you can go up to someone and on Xbox it is the left trigger. It's probably R2 on the PS3, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And you would just do a melee attack. And depending on what state that enemy is in, it would be a different melee attack. And it is a really deep melee system for one button. It's really, really strange. Do you have fun using it?
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Some of the animations are just like top notch. Like my favorite's the one where they like, stab the guy in the face and like throw his face into the ground and stuff.
Yeah, that's really good. Leon does this thing that's like if the zombie is turned with its back to you, he runs up and like bulldogs the
Yeah,
guy
yeah,
into
yeah.
the
It's like a
ground, which is
wrestling move and his head explodes.
it's so ridiculous, but it's really, really satisfying. It's, you know, in Resident Evil 5, I didn't really use melees that much unless they were way too close to me because there was like almost a last ditch effort, right? You had no other option but to hit the guy.
Right, right.
But in this one, it's like, you know what? It's kind of like a pro tip. If you want to save ammo, use that melee button almost exclusively because it is a
Right.
ton of fun. And when you chain attacks with your partner, that's really fun as well.
It kind of like as you get further in the game though, you kind of like get away from the melee because the enemies get so aggressive and so fast, and they start shooting at you that you can't even really get close to them. So you just end up shooting everybody.
Yeah, that is also true. So the game starts out with Leon and Helena. Helena's a new character, and it's this. It's kind of like a tutorial kind of thing. It teaches you how to mix stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that is unexplained. But the way the game starts out is just, I mean, Resident Evil has always been over the top. Even the earliest iterations, like 1 and 2, have been really over the top, but just in a more subtle way. The opening to this game where you're like running down the freeway and there's a wall of fire with a bunch of explosions and you jump on a helicopter and the helicopter almost gets hit by a train and it's just out of control. And I remember you texting me last night. You're like, this game just never lets up.
Oh, it doesn't. It never stops. Every chapter is just like go 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 for like an hour straight. Sometimes it's like, oh my god, I can't even keep playing.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, because you think at any moment, like, okay, the chapter's got to be done. The chapter's got to be done. I must have been playing for 2 hours, but it's been
Yeah.
just like a really aggressive 5 minute stint that you've been
But
playing, and it's
like, but there's not
insane.
even like a spot where it even like lets you like even like reload or just
No,
even stop and just kind of catch your breath. It just goes goes goes.
yeah, it's insane. Like, if you want to reload, kill every enemy in a room and reload really fast before you open that door. Because sometimes the door will just open by itself and there'll be an enemy waiting to kill you. It's crazy how they stack the deck. You know, there's the typical Resident Evil. All the heroes always live, even though they're in a position where everybody else is dead. It's just so ridiculous, but it's kind of that like Resident Evil kind of schlock that we've come to love, and it's actually played up kind of almost for laughs in this game.
Yeah.
There's a sequence where a bus crashes and some characters inside of it die, except for the two heroes, and then Leon says like this really melodramatic line where he goes, "Oh, they survived all of this just to die here." I was like, I was laughing my ass off. I'm like, this guy is such an asshole. They lived, you know, completely unscathed. I don't know how, but everybody else died, and then he has to make this really stupid comment. The voice acting is really fantastic. The presentation is amazing. Like it's still on the Resident Evil 5 engine, but they've done a really good job of making it look pretty nice.
Oh yeah, it looks great. Actually, I thought the graphics were really rock solid. The cinema screens are definitely a huge step up from Resident Evil 5. Although I found that some of the background textures, like there's one part where you're like in the catacombs and like they used like the same like texture for like these like bodies, and they were just like stacked on top of each other and just made it look super cheap. And I was like, that kind of ruined it for me. But I mean, other than that, the graphics are pretty tight.
Yeah, there are a few like kind of like muddy textures and things that are just they're supposed to be three-dimensional, but they're just flat, if you're
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
dead
it just
on at
looks
them.
bad. Yeah.
Yeah, which is, I guess they got to cut corners somewhere because the game does kind of push maybe some limits graphically. The water is really, really nice. I'm surprised at
Mhm.
how well that looks because in Resident Evil 5 it was okay, but it looked more like kind of like a sheet of water instead of like an actual fluid, which was really kind of weird. But I think they did a really good job making the graphics kind of pop. And of course, everything has to explode. It is like a Michael Bay movie most of the time. It is insane how many things explode in this movie. Or sorry, in this movie, it does kind of play like a movie actually when you think
That's
about
I
it.
think what they were trying to do is the fact that it just kind of keeps rolling and rolling and rolling. It's almost like you're playing a movie, especially with like the how they put in like the quick the what's it called,
The quick time events.
yeah, the quick time events. Yeah, like they drop those in like right in the middle of like gunfire and stuff like that, completely like putting you in like a movie situation, like where it's just go go go.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that I don't have a big problem with quick time events. But you know what? There's so many of them, and I've only beaten Leon's campaign, but there's just so many QuickTime events. It is insane. Did you like how many that there were?
Yeah, like I like the quick time events. I think it adds like so much more to the game because if it was just like constantly just shooting and killing and
Yeah,
just like, open the next door, kill that room, open the next door. So at least this way it kind of keeps you on your toes, even when it's like a cinema screen. So you think like, oh, I can just put the controller down, but you can't because it'll just like start a quick time event.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's a lot of cutscenes where I'm like, okay, I kind of want to just like check my phone or something, but I can't because I'm gonna miss a QuickTime event and die. And I guess they are kind of almost painting themselves in a corner where if they design these gameplay scenarios around anything else other than QuickTime events, like how do you map, piloting a plane on a controller, and how do you and like shooting enemies at the same time? It almost has to be done in QuickTime events, but it does seem a little bit lazy sometimes.
Right, right.
What's another thing I was going to talk about was the writing in this game, the dialogue that these characters say is ridiculous, but the voice acting is really, really strong.
Mhm.
Everybody has their own defined personality, which I really, really liked, and they of course brought voice actors back from Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 5. So uh, the voice acting is incredibly strong. It's probably one of the stronger points of the game is just how well everybody sounds.
Well, I like the fact that they got Nolan North, who's like one of the best in the business. But he should have done like some sort of like voice for Jake instead of being Nathan Drake. Because every time I heard him talk, it sounded like I was playing Uncharted.
Yeah, that's when we do the bonus stage on Kick with Tom, that was one of his biggest complaints about Nolan North is that very rarely, save for the Penguin in Arkham City, does he actually do a voice. He's just doing himself,
Right.
which is fine because his voice is really really cool. But he's done it for so many characters now. It's like this is Nathan Drake, and I kind of heard the same thing in his voice. He is actually, by the way. His name is Jake. Yeah, Jake Mueller, Wesker's son. That's not a spoiler because you find that out in the trailer for the game. The coolest character that they've introduced in the longest time. I mean, he is such a badass.
Oh
And
yeah,
even
totally,
when,
totally.
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, no, I was just waiting. I thought you were gonna keep going. No, he's a good character. Like his melees are even crazier than Leon's because he's like supposed to be like martial arts, and I guess that's
Yeah,
obviously from like the Wesker side of things because that was Wesker's thing.
yeah. It's actually kind of cool that when you're in his campaign, you can just go no guns at all and switch over to like the spot in the menu that says just do your martial arts,
Yeah, yeah,
and
that's
it's
crazy.
really really cool.
Yeah, it's his campaign actually starts with a melee battle with like someone. It's cinema screened, but it shows you like his melee talents, I guess.
Yeah, it's a cool game, and my biggest thing about this game though is that I think that really it's so hindering in some ways. Like the controls. So a lot of people's complaints with Resident Evil 5 is that you couldn't move and shoot at the same time, and fair enough. That is something that kind of frustrates me going back, but it does add to the kind of claustrophobia, right? Is that you can't shoot and move at the same time. You have to kind of post up and shoot.
Right.
In this game, they do allow you to move a bit, and it is a little bit freer. but you're not going to be dodging many attacks by kind of like the slow move that you do when you move and shoot.
Right.
But it does feel like you're almost kind of fighting the controls all the time. I mean, did you get that feeling too?
Actually, I found myself stopping and shooting anyway, even though I knew that I could move. Like I moved a little, but most of the time I was just playing the game, and every time I had to kill somebody, I just stopped because I mean the aiming was a little bit, it's like loose, and it's a new aiming system, so I just kind of found it easier just to stop, shoot, and then keep going.
Yeah, me too. I don't think I moved very much while I was shooting just because of how different the aiming system is. And I think that's going to keep people from really enjoying the game who aren't big Resident Evil fans. One of the reasons why, because there are many frustrating parts in this game. There's a part where you're climbing with Leon and you have to do this shoulder button thing that I mean, God, I could not figure this thing out. And all they do is put on the screen, like, hey, it's just shoulder buttons. And they kind of show you a little bit by flashing one what you're supposed to do, but it's really difficult to figure it out. So what you have to do is hold down both the shoulder buttons, lift up this one, then push it back down, then lift up this one, push it back down, and do this. And if you, leave both of them open, your character falls. So did it take you a while to figure it out? Because I was just like falling down that elevator shaft the whole time.
Hello, I think I got disconnected there.
Are you still around?
Yeah, something happened there. I got dropped or something.
Oh, okay. I was just talking
Okay.
about the Leon shoulder button climb thing. And
Oh
how
yeah, yeah.
difficult
That I
thing was
found that to
figure.
be really kind of annoying. It took me a while to get used to it, but after I got it, it was okay. But I must have died like 20 times trying to figure it out.
Me too. It was such a pain in the ass, and I think things like that are going to keep casual fans from really enjoying it. I only struggled through them because I'm a huge Resident Evil fan, and I want to see how the story continues.
I
But
mean,
yeah, it was frustrating.
with like, I mean, if you don't try new things, I mean, you just can't remake the same game over again. So
That's true.
you kind of give them a little bit of slack for like trying new things, and like maybe just okay, it doesn't work, so you probably won't see it in the next version of the game. But at the same time, I mean, there's a lot of elements that I did like that I'm sure we'll see in future games.
Yeah, and I do think that this is going to be successful enough to get a Resident Evil 7. Obviously, one is going to be coming down the pipeline in the next 3 or 4 years. But you know what? I think the value you get out of this game is also really strong because it took me around, I don't know, 8 hours to beat Leon's campaign, which is not a lot, but there's also two other campaigns and then one that's unlocked after you beat them all. So you get a ton of game to play, and then on top of that, you have Mercenaries mode. You also have Agent Hunt, which is kind of a cool, battle the clock, kind of get a high score kind of thing, which is really exciting. There's a lot to kind of keep you playing this game. Have
Oh,
you
yeah,
played any of the Mercenaries?
the replayability is insane. I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, just the fact that like when you look at the upgrades and the skills and stuff, like there's like you got to get like 80,000 points to like upgrade stuff. I mean, you'd be playing for like a year to get all that.
yeah, it's like a big hill to climb, but they're giving you things to kind of keep that disc inside of your
Hmm.
console. I really really enjoy this game, but there are so many things you kind of have to struggle through, and I feel like only die-hard fans of the series are going to do that. I don't know if you get the same feeling, but I feel like if you're just a casual Resident Evil fan and you kind of liked 5, this game's gonna piss you off a lot, and you're gonna end up putting it down.
Yeah, I personally think it's for the it's going to be for the real fans of the series, but I mean it's who knows. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's still a really fun game. I'm actually glad I bought it. And if we were to go back and do like our top 10 list, I'd probably put this around maybe even in the top 5, maybe number 4, because it's turning out to be a lot more entertaining than I thought it was. And you know what? The controls are a little strange, but once you get over them, they're actually a lot more responsive than people have said they are.
Yeah, I've read some reviews online already, and I think it's just getting a bad rep. Just everyone, it's like almost like trendy to hate on Capcom these days. But I
I
mean, it
think
was a
so,
good
yeah.
game. I liked it.
Yeah, me too. And you actually beat it too. Like you power gamed it through the entire week.
Yeah, I finished it about 3 o'clock this afternoon, but then it unlocked the extra campaign. So
Yeah.
technically, I'm not done.
Yeah. So, I mean, without spoiling it, did you have like any mixed feelings about the ending? Because there are actually 3 endings, and I suppose 4 in a sense because of that last campaign that gets unlocked.
Well,
Um,
I think what I found was that there's a lot of like questions at the like there's still like unanswered questions at the when you finish all 3, and then and I the way I'm it's shaping up right now. It looks like that the fourth campaign is going to answer all those questions, which is good because if it would have ended with all those questions, it would have been like, well, why didn't they answer this? Why didn't they answer that? So I guess we'll wait and see.
Yeah, I guess we better hope that they answer some questions because, I mean, it's almost pretty certain that they won't, but maybe they'll answer some just to kind of give us some answers. Because there's, I think that the dumbest thing that this game does is introduce the C virus, which I guess is Los Plagas virus from Resident Evil 4, but it's
Right.
just, they had to name it that same kind of sound as like the T and the G virus. That kills me. I think that almost ruins some of the game for me when they're starting to talk about the virus. Like, that's dumb.
Well,
Why you name it the C virus?
Well, when you start talking like viruses and stuff like that, the casual gamers, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, there's so many
Yeah.
different viruses. It just, I don't know. It's hard to keep track of.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, but fun game. Anyway, thanks for coming on, man. I
No
appreciate you,
problem.
doing a solid review with me because I know I was talking to Lloyd earlier this week, and I was like, "Do you have any? You gonna play Resident Evil?" He's like, "No." And it was pretty solid that he was not even gonna go close to touching it. So
I think I laughed actually. Was my response.
Yeah, you did.
No, it was good. It's such a good game. I would, like I'm gonna keep playing it. Actually, I'm kind of stuck in it right now.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks, Trevor. Okay, so that was Trevor, and he joined us for a review. That was awesome. Thanks, man.
He's our Resident Evil correspondent.
He is, our official man on the Las Plagas scene, Trevor Allen.
He's our boots on the ground.
Yeah. He gets all them viruses. He's right up in them. Is what he is. Yeah.
Maybe we should have stopped with one. I think maybe it went one too far.
I don't really care about Resident Evil. Sorry.
That's fine. You know what? It is kind of one of those mixed bags where the series is just so friggin' ridiculous at this point that other than liking it because it's so ridiculous, it's hard to find another reason.
Do you want to know how bad it is for me? I like the movies better than the game series now.
Whoa.
Yeah. How sad is that?
I've actually seen the most recent movie, and it is one of the most horrendous pieces of garbage I've ever seen.
They're all awesome if you look at them for what they are, just like pure camp with hot women in it. That's about it.
Paul Anderson, and not Paul Thomas Anderson, Paul W.S. Anderson, has only done one good movie in his life, and that was Event Horizon, which I love. All of his Resident Evil movies are just absolute trash. I mean, it's just horrendous.
Look what he's working from, really. Look at the source material.
But the guy just has no talent at all as even a director. Like, it's
all right.
He's only doing movies to keep his wife Mila Jovovich employed.
Well, yes, you would do anything for Mila Jovovich.
I'm not gonna disagree with you there.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. All right, well, let's move away from Resident Evil. Let's get into Borderlands 2. So, as I said, I picked up Borderlands 2 basically last Friday or last Thursday, or was it last Friday? I can't remember. It was about a week ago or so, and I previously said that I was going to stay away as long as I could because I know that it was pretty much going to end me. All my free time would be put into this one. And it's kind of true. Although I haven't really had much free time. I've been so busy working and doing some other stuff on the side that I really haven't a chance to play Borderlands 2 as much as I'd like to. But I have gotten really far. I've almost completed the whole main campaign. So I'm not really going to give you a review so much as I'm going to talk about the game a little bit and tell you kind of my feelings. So I guess it's kind of a pseudo review, but I've only played one character and I haven't completely finished all of the main quests. So anyway, take it for what you will. So Borderlands 2 basically picks up, I believe it's 5 years after the first game. And if you're not familiar with Borderlands, it was a game, it was kind of a loot-driven game, kind of like a Diablo, but in 3D, kind of like you run around in 3D world and you shoot things, they spew out loot, you collect loot, you make your character better, and you go from there. It revolved around 4 characters that were the Vault Hunters. You were tasked with the task of finding the mysterious vault that you didn't really know what it was. You do it. This character called the Angel directed you there. When you open it up, at the end of the first game, without spoiling anything, it basically releases an element called iridium, which basically just totally covered all of the planet. And you find out in Borderlands 2 that iridium is actually used for a lot of different purposes. It's a mutagen. It will mutate some of the characters. It's used as currency. You can use it to power up some of your things, your weapons and skills and things like that. So anyway, that's where this one kind of takes place. The game starts with you, whichever character class that you choose, joining the other 3 character classes on a train to meet Handsome Jack, who is the character in the game that is, I guess, the main bad guy. And you are basically joining Handsome Jack to basically find a second vault that he has found out is also on the planet of Pandora that you're on. I'm not going to spoil anything. The intro is amazing. The intro to Borderlands 1 was great. The music, everything else was great. The intro to Borderlands 2 is even better. So I'm not going to spoil anything else. All that you know is that Handsome Jack is bad and your characters are good.
Is there actually spoilers in the intro that could kind of ruin the experience?
Yes, because
Wow.
the intro is, I don't know, the storytelling in Borderlands, even though it's like a kind of a mindless loot driven game, it's just amazing. Like the writing, the story, the humor, the subtle humor and not so subtle humor, it's just so great. So I don't want to spoil anything about the intro. Anyway, I'll let everybody that plays the game kind of experience it for themselves.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I guess the difference in Borderlands 2 is the character classes are a little bit different. You have 4 character classes in this game. Others are supposed to be coming with DLC. But the 4 character classes in Borderlands 2 are the Gunzerker, is the first one. That's the tank character. You're this big beefy dude.
I love that that's a word, like that. That's how good the game is. It's invented its own word. That is awesome.
It's great. And you're a Gunzerker because you can basically dual wield anything. So you can have 2 miniguns, you can have a handgun and a sniper rifle, whatever you want. You can have basically 2 guns in your hands and shoot stuff and make blood fly and loot spew out, which is really awesome.
Any better than that?
Exactly. There's the Siren, which is kind of the magic user. You use powers to basically put some of the enemies in a bubble or to stasis and do things like that. There's a Zero character, which reminds me a lot of like Raiden from the Metal Gear series, where you're this thing with a sword that has kind of cybernetic and magical powers. So that's the Zero character. And then I played the Commando. And the Commando is the character that, excuse me, basically has a turret as as his special skill. So you can, when the cooldown is not running, you can spew out a turret which chews things up, and then you continue on with your game. I've only played the Commando, so I don't know anything about the other 3 characters. So that's why this isn't a full review, because I haven't really experienced all the game. But I like the Commando. I love having the turret. That's the character class that I played in the first one. So I picked that one up and basically went on and continued. So the game is set in Pandora, which is kind of a post-apocalyptic world, sort of, because it's a planet that's been basically settled by the human race. And then people go crazy and mutate because of all the chemicals and things like that. There's a bunch of really crazy monsters and enemies that you basically run into. So it's kind of a desolate, dangerous place. What they've done in this game is they've upgraded the graphic engine. So Borderlands 1 was kind of a cel-shaded game. So it looked really, really cel-shaded. It looked almost like you're watching a cartoon. But I think the game was more created for SD television sets instead of HD television sets, because when you played it on a 720p screen, the cel shading, like the lines around the characters were just a little too thin. It looked very kind of penciled in, where the cel shading on Borderlands 2 looks that much better. It looks like you are looking like at a piece of manga or something. Really, really.
Do you think it actually might have been for a standard definition TV? Because that game came out in what, 2009, a year after Fallout 3, right?
Yeah, like I think they might have done a lot of their play testing, so it didn't look too crazy on an SD set. It was like what was the name? Crackdown was like that. It had a cel shaded look, which if you played on an SD set, you didn't even see it. And then you played it in 720p. It's like, oh, they were trying to make it look all cel shaded, not just weird and blocky. So I think it had a little bit of that. Maybe they were designing for SD and HD, and they kind of went with the look that looked best on both. They've taken that and they've kind of cranked it up a lot on Borderlands 2. Like it looks like you're looking at a piece of manga or anime.
It's one of those like strange games where it's, to say that it looks good isn't that it looks realistic.
No.
It looks good because it's got
so
its own
much style
and everything pops. Like I've
Totally.
watched some video of it and I'm like, holy crap, does this game look just like hyper is the word I can describe to use the art style. Like hyper, that's what it looks like. Everything is just like fast and just slick. You know, it's
Yeah.
really really cool.
Yeah, it looks really good. Like, and the gameplay is like just buttery smooth as well. They've added some other things to it as well, like the world that you're in. You're not just running around a big desert. There's like a big winter vistas and ice, and they've kind of changed things up a lot. So they've kind of taken everything that Borderlands 1 did and they kind of cranked it up. Like it's everything that Borderlands did awesome and but better, which is kind of amazing. One thing that they've added to the game, so you're going around, basically the game consists around you getting a quest, you running around shooting everything that moves to complete the quest, getting an item for completing the quest, getting more quests and going and completing it. That hasn't really changed in Borderlands 2. But what they've added is what they call the badass system. So you get certain challenges. So get 50 headshots with the pistol, or shoot like 50,000 rounds. And that quest, or that challenge, is called I think it's called piles of brass, or knee deep brass or something. It's, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But once you complete these challenges, you get permanent upgrades to all your characters. So you can choose a stat that you want to upgrade. So maybe your gun damage you want more, or you want more health, or you want to do more damage with your grenades. There's like a list of say 15. And you get a choice of 5, I believe, randomly, and you can upgrade one every time that your badass rank gets to a certain point. So you complete a bunch of challenges, and then you get a badass token that you can use to upgrade that. And all of these upgrades are permanent, and they're across all your playthroughs, which is really, really cool. So you could play through the game the first time, get all of your bonuses up to like 5% for everything, and then when you play the next character, you're that much better. So they're rewarding repeated playthroughs. Just like the first game, it is 4-player co-op, drop in, drop out. You can basically have someone join your game. It doesn't affect your game. They're just helping you out. Everything gets more difficult. You also get more you get more loot. Everything's better when you have more people, but then they can drop out as well. So they've kept that as well, which is really cool. The quests basically are similar to the first one. There's a lot of fetch quests, which I don't like. There's a lot of murder quests where you have to go kill a specific boss and then collect an item from that boss. But the thing that I always liked about Borderlands is there's just a sense of humor about everything. Like everything is a joke. There's a sense of humor, and you get a lot of that when you get into some of the Easter eggs. Like there's a Minecraft level that's built into this where you're running through a level, like the city of Sanctuary that you're in, which is the main kind of hub world. At one point, I don't know if I want to. Well, it's not really a spoiler because I think you see it in some of the trailers where you basically lift Sanctuary out of the ground. You do some stuff and it basically flies. And then there's a big pit where the city used to be. So if you go down into that pit, eventually in one of the levels, you'll walk by an area, and if you kind of jump around, you'll see some like Minecraft texture blocks. You go and you start punching them, and you go into this little Minecraft area where these like creepers come running at you. And when you shoot them, they spew little upgrades that give you character skins. That's one of the upgrades they've done in this game, where you can find skins that you can unlock, skin items that you can unlock. So you can have your clothes look different or your head look different. So they've just thrown a lot of stuff like that. There's another quest line where you have to deliver pizza to some mutants. And when
deliver pizza?
Deliver pizza from Mad Maxie. She has a pizzeria in this game, and when you go to deliver to the mutants, you find out that they're a guy that sounds an awful lot like Michelangelo. And when you go down, there's 4 of the kind of sewer rats that are basically turtles. There's one guy called Don, there's one called Raph, there's one called Mike, and they're basically color coded Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that you're shooting. And they have turtle shells on their backs. They're like these little sewer rat guys, but they have turtle shells on their backs, and you kill them. And if you do a special sequence of events after that, you actually fight Splinter. And it's just like they've taken like pulp culture and game culture and every kind of mushed it in. Like there's quests about what was the name of that cartoon with that aardvark dude? It was like the
Arthur?
No, it was like the weird life of
Oh, Rocco's Modern Life?
Yeah, Rocco's Modern Life. So there's a quest line called...
Man, that is a really, really, like, stretched reference.
Totally. And there's all these things everywhere. Like, there's quests, there's challenges, and there's everything that are just, like, funny. The achievements are funny. Like, I don't know. The game is great. From top to bottom, the game is great.
So Lloyd, why don't you tell me what you really think about the game?
I don't know. It's horrible. Don't waste your money. No, like when I saw before I bought the game, I saw that it had a 90 on Metacritic, and I'm like, oh, that must just be like all the fanboys are really kind of, I don't know, like really high on it. And then I look and there's like 90 reviews or 87 reviews or something, and it's like, holy crap, okay, this is a really good game. Is it better than the first? So I bought it, popped it in, and even just the intro and getting into the game was just like, yep, this is better from top to bottom than the first one.
Wow.
So anyway,
that's crazy.
As I said, not a full review. It's kind of my thoughts as it is right now. Well, because I haven't played the whole game, so how can I review it, right? But I haven't done any co-op. I haven't played any of the other character classes. I probably still have hundreds of hours of content ahead of me if I want. And what they've done is there's a season pass available for DLC, so you can buy the season pass for $30 and you get the what is probably going to be 4 $10 or $15 DLC packages. So they're already planning a huge rollout of content for this as well. So
that's cool.
Anyway, Borderlands 2,
things, like the original Borderlands had some really fantastic DLC.
Totally. Sorry, I had to take a drink there.
Oh, that's fine.
I'm still fighting a cold, so I think I caught your cold from last week, Jeff.
Yeah, I actually haven't spoken to you face to face for like, what, 3 or 4 months?
They didn't know that. No, you just spoiled it.
No, they should know that we don't speak outside of what we're doing right now in the odd text message.
Exactly. So anyway, Borderlands 2 is phenomenal. It is a great game. It's probably, as from all the games that I played so far this year, this has to be like my game of the year so far.
Oh, wow. Guys, I was actually just going to ask you, because I was going to do a little bit of a challenge here. I was talking with Carly today, my girlfriend, and we were talking about just like some video games, because obviously she was playing Final Fantasy VII, and I was like, you know what? Because of how much I love, and I'm only going to say the name, I won't actually go into it, MLB The Show.
Oh, God. Yeah, sorry, what were you saying?
Hold on. Because of how much I love that game, it's one of those ones that's definitely going to be on my top 10 games of the year.
Mm-hmm.
It will probably end up at number 2 because that's how much I love it and that's how much I've played it.
Right.
But if it wasn't for The Walking Dead, because Walking Dead right now is an absolute, it's going to win Game of the Year for me.
Yeah.
Does this Borderlands 2 actually beat out The Walking Dead for you? Because I knew that when we did the review of the last episode, you were like, this is probably Game of the Year for me too.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it does. Like I love it. I really love it. But
everybody in the chat room is just like going over all the cliches, the me cliches of every episode. We like check. Jeff mentions MLB The Show. What about a Kickstarter rant? We haven't talked about Kickstarter in a while.
The bonus stage bingo game they're playing. Jeez. And they're getting drunk while doing it. Like I really love Walking Dead, but I don't know. I've really been enjoying this game. Like I love the world. Like I love kind of post-apocalyptic kind of things.
Yeah.
I love the humor. Like you like there's bad puns when certain enemies run at you. Like they say stupid puns and they make me giggle because I like bad puns, and it's just everything about the game from top to bottom. I really enjoy it. So. Yeah, I think. I mean, obviously, it's not the end of the year, so we'll see what happens. But
you're definitely, you are in the majority of people right now because there has been very little hate on this game. A lot of the time you get these situations where a game comes out that's really big, and it's a good game, but there's this this friggin' gamut of people who just hate on it because it's popular. I have not seen that with this game.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like universally loved, which is strange because of how much of a sleeper the first Borderlands was. It came out, it's like, it's out. And all of a sudden, it was just steady in sales and didn't drop off. And then everybody was talking about it. It was insane. It was just like, Borderlands is this game, right, that has come out and for some reason is reaching the amount of fandom that you would get on a franchise that's been out for 2 decades. It's insane. It's just really weird.
No, I love it. And I can say that I like everything that we just said about it. And I agree with all the good stuff that's been said about it that I've heard. So it is a really good game. So if you're looking for a good game to play, and if you're playing on PS3, let me know. We can jump into some co-op for sure. Definitely check out some Borderlands 2.
Awesome. Oh, you know what? I was just, because I forgot to mention the pause thing with Resident Evil 6. We forgot to touch on the review. Just really quickly before we go and take a break here, you can pause in single player, but you have to be playing offline, and they don't tell you that anywhere. It's just something I read on a forum. So if you are playing and you're playing solo, and you don't want people joining your game, don't even bother being on Xbox Live. When you get those, there's like a tree of things like, do you want to play for fun and all this stuff when they're searching for players. Just turn the thing that says Xbox Live all the way to offline, and then you can pause at any time. Went through 2/3 of the campaign before I figured that out, and it was like starting to get, as Trevor and I were talking about in the review, there's no real place where you can relax. So it's either I hold it in and play to the end of the chapter, or I piss my pants. So you can pause, but you have to be playing offline.
Okay, so that's not good, but
Yeah.
but still, it's good to know.
Yeah, but they never tell you. And the default option is to be on Xbox Live.
Nice, cool. All right, so what do you say we take a small little break and then we get to we get to the rest of the news and stuff like that?
Sounds good.
All right, cool. I'm gonna look for a track to play. How about we play a little a track from Squid's Wild West, which is a really great iOS game that just got an update. So we'll check that one out, and we'll be back in a couple minutes to give you the news of the week. All right, there we go. That was a track from the Squid's Wild West soundtrack that I picked up from.
That's an iOS game?
Yeah, it's an iOS game.
That's an impressive soundtrack for an iOS game.
Oh, it's such a great game. You really need to pick it up. If you have a couple bucks burning a hole in your iTunes pocket, you should definitely pick it up. Pick up the first one, Squids, and then Squid's Wild West. The game is great. It's like it's like a turn-based strategy game where you basically use a little kind of pull back the squid's tail and let go kind of mechanic to do different things. It's so much fun. But the soundtrack is great as well.
Yeah, that's some really good music. That's like stuff that you would hear on like a DS game, you know? Like that's some high quality stuff right there.
Cool. Yeah, it is great, and it just came out with an update today, which is why it was on my brain. That added a whole bunch of other content and some other modes and things like that. So definitely a game to check out if you're an iOS gamer.
Cool.
All right, let's do this. Let's get into the news. So we're gonna kick it off. Sorry, I was lost.
There's just like the only one thing left to do with it. You're like, oh, let's choose. How about the news?
No, I couldn't find the tab that was open that had the news on it. I'm like, I know I have the show notes open, but apparently I couldn't find it. So anyway, let's start this off. I'm going to do what I put in the show notes called the Trilogy of Trilogies, because there's been a lot of trilogy news coming out.
Yeah.
The first one, I mean, you're probably pretty pumped about this, although you've played the game before.
Yeah.
That is, EA is releasing a trilogy called the Mass Effect Trilogy.
Yeah. So, this is actually kind of cool. I'm kind of on the fence about how I feel on this, but essentially, November 6th for Xbox 360 and PC. PS3 hasn't been announced yet, but
yeah, it's been announced. It's coming at a later date. They haven't announced the actual date though.
Oh, that's what I meant. Is that they haven't announced the date.
Sure.
So you get what's called the Mass Effect Trilogy, which is essentially just 1, 2, and 3 being released in an all-in-one bundle. That's actually really cool. And the thing is, like, right there, I've got all 3 Mass Effects. I have them all, in my collection. I don't think I will. That'll be one of the games I never get rid of, is any of those games. I think that, going back and playing that series is one of the things I love to do all the time. The weird thing is, for me, it's priced at $59. You get all 3 games. Pretty aggressive price, actually. It's, you're essentially paying $20 a game, and the newest one is still retailing for about $45 used, which is a pretty good value. I do want it, but not for any practical reason, right? Like, I mean, I've got all the DLC. I've got the discs, I've got everything. It's like my midnight launch copy of Mass Effect 3. There's nothing that, and we don't even know yet if, we don't even know yet if it's going to include the DLC. So
no, it hasn't been announced yet, which is kind of weird. The kind of cool thing about this is it's coming on November 6th, which EA is calling N7 Day. So it's basically they're going to have a yearly celebration of all things Mass Effect. And the one really interesting thing is Wii U is coming out with a version of Mass Effect 3, which is coming out after this version comes out. But they haven't said whether the actual trilogy is coming to Wii U, which would make sense since it's never appeared on the Wii U. So you're going to be playing a game that relies heavily on the other 2 games that you've already played. But yeah, it's really weird. So anyway, it's cool. It's a cool trilogy.
It is cool, yeah. And, if they pack it in some sort of die-cast case and it's some sort of collector thing, I might think about getting it and just trading in my other 3 games.
Yeah.
Because, if I traded in all 3 games and got towards this, I might actually end up paying only like $5 out of pocket. But it would have to be something that's like, I'm going to have to go and spend the money in gasoline to go to the store and get, it's got to be presentation-wise worth having and just kind of free up some space on the shelf, consolidate from 3 to 1.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool that it's coming out for people who have not purchased any of these games before and looking to get in, because the price is still really, really good. I mean, in essentially what is a month tomorrow, the game is going to be released. You get all 3 of them. I don't see Mass Effect 3 coming down in price so significantly that it's not a good deal anymore. It's, you're getting 1 and 2 at like, what, $5 a pop at that point? It's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's a good deal. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I ever want to play Mass Effect 1 again.
That's what a lot of people say. I actually still enjoy it, but I mean, I've only played through it about 5 times. A lot of people played through it 10 or 15.
Well, for me, it was the load times and the having to go and drive around on the planets and get the stuff. It was just like, oh. But I love 2, and I still have to pick up 3. I got to do that soon.
Oh, yeah, you haven't played 3.
I haven't played 3 yet. I got to do that. So anyway, if you haven't played the trilogy and you want to, there's going to be a $60 trilogy that you can pick up. Soon.
This next one, though, is actually something I probably would pick up just because it's tough to not want to own all 3 of these.
Mm-hmm. And that is, if you have a PlayStation 3, Ubisoft's bringing out something called the Assassin's Creed Ezio Trilogy. So it's a trilogy that has Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Revelations, and Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. It's all going to be coming out. They haven't announced a price yet. If it's like all the other trilogies on PlayStation, it's either going to be $24.99 or $29.99.
Actually, there's a price in the article, but it's $39.99.
Oh, it's $39.99. Okay.
Yeah,
and it comes
a little
out
bit more expensive.
It comes out on the 13th of November, so you can pick that one up. Right after
it's actually the same day as Call of Duty as well, too.
Which is gonna Call of Duty. Does that sell anymore? I don't think so.
I think 1 or 2 copies.
Yeah, there's some bums that will pick it up. So yeah, it's kind of weird. I own all of these games on the PlayStation 3, so this does nothing for me. But I know a lot of people that really liked the announcement for Assassin's Creed 3. So this gives you the ability to go back and play all of the Ezio, which is not going to be in any of the newer games apparently. So I don't know. We'll see. It's kind of neat. It's another trilogy. It seems to be the thing that's happening now. There's so many trilogies coming out.
Yeah, and this is really cool because kind of packages everything you need. The thing that's weird is that I'm pretty sure Assassin's Creed 3 comes out at the end of this month, and then this comes out a few weeks after.
Yeah.
So it's tough to kind of unless you want to wait to play Assassin's Creed 3, you can't, just go unless you buy them all singles now. And even then, if the game came out today, you would have to really power game your ass off to complete all 3 of these games before Assassin's Creed 3.
Yeah, I was chatting about that with a buddy, and the only thing that we could think of is maybe at the end of Assassin's Creed 3, there's some sort of tie back to something Ezio did. So people that haven't played the original games are like, oh, who's this Ezio character? I kind of want to know more about him.
I gotta feel that they're going to touch on it a little bit.
Maybe it's something like that, but...
Yeah. I would hope so.
Weird.
Because I have not beaten Revelations yet, so that's the most recent one, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Revelations?
Yeah, I believe so.
So I'm gonna have to go back and play that before I play 3, because I really want to play 3. But that's like, hey, invest 60 hours of your life before the end of the month. So, holy crap, that's a big commitment,
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So, and the last trilogy I want to talk about is a trilogy that was just released, and I don't get why it even exists. And that is the Angry Birds Trilogy, which came out late last month for the 360, PlayStation 3, and 3DS. But the problem with this one, on the PS3 and the 360 is $40. On the 3DS, it's $30.
Yeah.
So these are 99-cent games that you can get on your iPhone or Android phone, and you're paying multiple times that to play it on a console. It's so overpriced that I've seen it being sold for $20 already for the console. So you can pick up a PS3 version for $20.
Yeah.
Even at that, I can't even recommend it. But anyway, I wanted to mention this because it's stupid, but I know a lot of people really want to play Angry Birds and they'd want to play it on their television. So you can do it.
There's no I don't like it when people look down on others for things that they like and that they enjoy. I have Angry Birds on my phone. I think it's a fun game.
It is, but the people that would want to play it have played it on their phone. Like
exactly,
this I don't know who this serves.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say the cool thing they've added is on the Kinect you can use gesture controls, and on the PlayStation Move you can use the magic wand to pull your characters back and fling them.
On the iPhone you can use gesture controls as well too.
Yeah, it's built in. I have I have 5 of them on each hand. It's great. I can do gesture controls with my fingers. On the 3DS you can use a stylus. So I mean that's kind of neat, I guess. Not that I'd ever want to play. Like I don't want to do this on my Kinect and let go. Like it's weird. But $40, and There's a bunch of other of stuff built into it, but I don't know if it's $40 worth of stuff. Rovio says you can get over 100 hours of gameplay, so there you go.
In what universe are you going to get 100 hours of game? Maybe if you have to like 3-star everything,
and that's obviously what they're talking about.
You're just like replaying it over and over and over again, because you can beat, if you just went for just beating it, you could beat the entire game, I'm sure, in just a few hours.
But you're not going to get all the achievements or trophies.
Yeah, the funny thing is that I like that Rovio is saying in this article that there's new graphics updated for the big screen. Okay, so what you're saying is you have changed the aspect ratio.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, you didn't go into your development cycle and just like, okay, we're going to really barrel down on this game because it's going to be a big one.
It's asinine. I don't know why it exists. Play Angry Birds on your iPad or your iPhone or Android device, because it's basically better there. You can play it for free on Facebook too, I hear. So yeah.
Oh, really?
Or go spend $40. Let me know how that works for you.
How expensive it is. I mean, I don't know. You buy this entire set for $3, less than $3, because it's 99 cents. You would be spending $2.97.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, you know what? Let's actually spend 30 multiples of that instead, and just buy that.
But you could wear your $70 Angry Birds costume while you play the $40 Angry Birds game on your Xbox. Maybe it will pick up your costume with the Kinect. And that might unlock some hidden levels. So you might want to try that one out too.
I hate people. If you're one of those people that's buying this game, note right now that I hate you. Okay?
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, I think you're crazy. Definitely do. All right, what's not crazy is the announcement that Kingdom Hearts, the first game, is being re-released as an HD remix on your PlayStation 3. So Square Enix has, they're going to be bringing out something called Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 Remix. And it has redone versions of Kingdom Hearts Final Mix. That's the updated version of Kingdom Hearts, the original game. Kingdom Hearts Rechain of Memories. And Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days. So the 3 Kingdom Hearts games that all take place before Kingdom Hearts 2 will be available as a PlayStation 3 version. So it's another trilogy. We should have maybe included this in our quadrilogy of trilogies that we're talking about in this episode. So yeah, like Chain of Memories was a Game Boy Advance game. Final Mix was a remixed version of the game with a whole bunch of extra stuff that was only released in Japan. DS had the 358 over 2 days. So yeah, all those 3 games are all going to be appearing on your PlayStation 3, which is pretty damn cool.
Yeah, it's one of those collections that's, I'm not a big, I'm not even a Kingdom Hearts casual fan. I've never even played any of these games, but I know how loved they are. And to get a nice HD remix of them is actually going to be pretty good. And the only thing that they don't say in here, which makes me a little bit worried, is they don't say a price.
No, it was announced at TGS, and it's only been confirmed that it's coming to Japan. But I can't see them taking a game that was really popular in the States and coming out with a trilogy in Japan and not have it coming out in North America. So it'll probably ship sometime next year, but I'm sure this will come to North America.
Yeah, I'm totally with you there.
Cool. The next one is huge and awesome, and that is a 24-minute Halo miniseries. It's called Halo 4 Forward Unto Dawn Episode 1. There's going to be a whole stack of episodes coming out. It's on it's been done by Machinima, and it is
probably makes a lot of people groan already, but they didn't have much of a hand in this.
No,
this is
it's 343's baby, basically.
Yeah.
And basically what Halo Forward Unto Dawn is going to be, it's going to be a 90-ish so minute, basically like almost like a feature length movie. And I was reading some stuff about it today. I was reading about the making because I watched it today and I was just blown away. Like, this looks like something that should be on the Sci-Fi Channel. Actually, no, that's doing it a disservice. It looks like it should be something on HBO. Like, it looks really good. Apparently, they've spent $100,000 filming and doing post-production on this. So they've spent a lot of money for something that just appears on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? They'll make their money back because of what it is.
Sorry, did I say 100,000? I meant 10 million. They spent $10 million.
I was thinking like 100,000.
No, that was nothing. I was looking at the zeros wrong. Yeah, they spent
$10 million bucks.
$10 million. They could have given me $9 million, and I could have made them a really good one.
I doubt that.
It would have had
I doubt that.
Microsoft, the best Microsoft Paint skills that you would ever have seen. It would have been awesome.
Yeah, you're gonna
Cheap,
dual boot
$9
your Mac
million.
just to get Microsoft Paint.
Exactly. Exactly.
I have not watched this yet, but I've
oh,
seen shots.
dude, it is so good. It basically
The
takes
Halo. Sorry, go ahead. I don't want me to cut you
no
off
no
there.
go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. All of the live action Halo stuff that's ever come out has been really, really top notch. Even a lot of the fan made stuff. The most, the closest to this we've seen is the stuff that kind of came out around E3 for the live action Halo 4 trailers.
Yep.
Were incredible. And these are on the same production value, if not better in some cases, because it's more of a narrative. So there's, more writing involved in this. It's hard to find something wrong with what they're doing here.
I watched it, and it's campy, it's kind of cheesy, but it's no different than, say, if you're watching like I don't know, Starship Troopers, where you have like sappy lines with Marines that really shouldn't be Marines.
Yeah.
So if you can get over that, like these all these army dudes and girls are basically like skinny 90-pound people that put on armor and get into the battle. And I was like, that is so stupid. That would never happen. And then you find out that all these people have never, like later in the show, like, I'm not going to spoil much of it, but none of them have grown up on Earth. So these are all people that have lived in space only, and they want to fight the battle that's happening. So I was really kind of concerned about that, but then after it was like, yeah, whatever. The story revolves around a new future ODST trooper called Thomas Lasky, and his mother is a bigwig that battles a command ship or something. Apparently in future episodes you're going to get to see the Master Chief, and you got to know that this story is going to pertain directly to Halo 4. And you got to think that a redone version of this is probably going to ship with like one of the higher priced versions of Halo 4, like the whatever,
you
legendary
probably see a DVD
or
of
whatever.
it somewhere, just because it's. I mean, they put $10 million into it. They're probably going to want to try and print some media to get it back.
They need to take this and they need to actually like make a movie, because it is so good. I could almost watch something this quality on like a movie screen. Like,
here's the thing, though.
It looks good.
And I don't try to be an expert about the movie industry, but I'm in it as much as I am in the gaming industry. When it comes to making a movie, $10 million is like nothing. I mean, it really is nothing.
Obviously, they'd have to spend more.
Yeah, and they've tried to make a Halo movie. I mean, if you go on IMDb, I believe there's still a let me check right now, actually.
Well,
there's
yeah,
probably
you
still
had
a Halo movie that's been headed by Peter Jackson for the longest time.
Yeah, you had Weta Studios went out and they did some test shots. They made a Warthog. They redid all of the Halo weapons. Like, they made physical versions of all the Halo weapons, and they redid all the armor. Like, they made some of the best like Spartan armor remakes that you would ever see. And then the movie fell apart. And that was because it was Microsoft working with Bungie. Now Bungie's out of the picture, and 343 Studios is wholly owned by Microsoft. Microsoft threw $10 million to make this short. Well, it's not as short even. It's 90 minutes
but it's more of a web series than anything.
Yeah, so you're going to have like 4 chunks of it or whatever. So you know that they could probably do it. They could probably do it really good. And Halo sells like crazy. They could probably get like millions of people to go see it in the theater, which would make their money back for sure. So anyway, go check it out. I'll link to I'll link to the actual Machinima channel. It's Machinima Premium, I believe, is what it's airing on, something like that. And it's about 22 minutes or 24 minutes, and it's worth.
That was 19 minutes 50 seconds.
Maybe. Okay, so it's 20 minutes.
Machinima Prime.
Machinima Prime. There you go. And it's worth watching. It's really good. The special effects are amazing. Acting's but I mean, it's like every other sci-fi movie you've ever seen. Like, I just watched.
You got to think that those actors were probably paid maybe $5,000 each.
They got to play the deathmatch version of Halo 4 before anybody else. That was their pay for it.
Yeah, exactly. But they're not allowed to talk about it ever.
Exactly. So go check it out. That's Halo 4 Forward Unto Dawn Episode 1. And we'll definitely talk about the series as it continues to release weekly. It's every Friday, I believe it's coming out.
Oh, really? I thought it was every 2 weeks.
I think it's every week, but I could
I
be
guess
wrong.
I guess every week will kind of line up with the Halo release, wouldn't
Yeah,
won't it? Yeah, that
exactly.
makes sense.
And you got to think that this is going to line up with Halo's doing with Halo 4. They're going to have a episodic thing put into the game. I can't remember what they're calling it, but
Yeah, the DLC thing, right?
yeah, like it's free DLC if you're a gold member, and you get a 15-minute video and 4 missions every week for like a couple months or something. So
Easy.
yeah, you got to think that this is all going to kind of tie into that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it anyway.
Worth the price of admission.
Exactly.
Is just that DLC. That's how, and it's like groundbreaking stuff. Like, hey, let's give you, and it's funny because this is Microsoft saying, hey, let's give you a ton of content that you would obviously pay for free.
Totally. You know that just is setting them up to have like season 2, season 3, season 4, season 5 that they're going to charge for, which I get, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be. It's exciting. I can't wait to play Halo 4, and I might actually have to buy freaking Xbox Live Gold just so I could play that stuff, which really makes me angry. But
yeah, but then we can play together.
that's true. We could do that. Let's talk about some DLC, which I'm not really sold on. There was a Nintendo Direct this week that talked about New Super Mario Bros. 2, the DLC. Remember, Nintendo said DLC was terrible and everybody that did DLC was robbing the gamer and that they would never get behind something like that. They want to sell a game to you that is a full experience. Now they're doing DLC. So
now, okay, but granted, is New Super Mario Bros. 2 a full experience?
yeah, I mean, it's a full game, right? It's a full $40 game.
Yeah.
And the DLC is for what they call coin rush mode, which you basically try to get through 3 stages. Yeah, I didn't really dig it. But you try to get through 3 stages, get as many coins as you can, and compare your scores with your friends. So they announced the first round of packs. They're $2.50 each. So to buy all 3 packs, you're spending $7.50 on top of the $40 game you already bought. And all you get is 9 extra stages that you can play in small chunks. So there's a gold coin pack, coin challenge pack A, and the nerve rack pack, which I've seen some of the videos for the nerve rack pack, and it is as intense. It's like watching someone play like Super Meat Boy, where you make like a fraction of a pixel mistake on your jumps and you're dead. So if you like hating yourself, maybe that is one you want to pick up. If I pick up any of them, it's going to be the gold coin pack, just so I can get a lot of gold coins really fast and get to my 1,000,000 coins and then never touch the game again.
How many coins do you have now?
I don't know, 100,000 maybe. Like not very
Wow.
many. Yeah, not very many. I got a ways to go to get to the 1,000,000. But anyway, the DLC is out, and they're going to be doing it like from here on. They want to come out with a bunch of them. So to download the DLC, you just go into the coin rush mode, and they're available for purchase, and they're $2.50 each. So almost 99 cents for a level that you only get to play for about 45 seconds before the clock runs out, unless you collect different things that extend your time. So I don't know. It seems really expensive.
I've never been against, at least to my memory, I don't think I've ever been against DLC. I think, anything that adds to the experience, whatever price, as long as the consumer has a pretty good idea of what they're buying into, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's weird to me, not that Nintendo is offering DLC, but it's weird to me that with all the creativity behind a Super Mario Brothers game, the best they can do for DLC is like, it's coin rush.
Yeah, and
That's the best you could do. Like, I mean, I know it's $2.50, but come on, man. Like,
yeah. So I don't know. It almost seems like stuff that they should be throwing in as kind of added content, like an added bonus content.
Yeah, and you know what? I also don't like the fact that Reggie goes up on stage at this Nintendo Direct thing, and not this one, but the one where he started announcing DLC, and he's like, "Yeah, this is going to be great DLC. You're going to want to pay for it." It's like, this is stupid. This is like crap, actually. In fact, in my eye, not a huge amount, but does devalue a little bit the kind of Super Mario Brothers name, because it's like, here's some coins, go and get them. Well, that's what the game is. Like, give me something different, or extend the story a little bit. Work harder. Yeah. That's what I want you to do.
Yeah, I don't get it. But anyway, it's available there. If you're a new Super Mario Brothers 2 player, you can get it. I'm probably gonna buy it. No, I'm gonna stay away. I don't really spend more money on Mario. I'm gonna be getting a Wii U and paying up the wazoo to get the new Super Mario Brothers Wii U game, which is just the same game over and over again. I'm starting to kind of tire about Mario, which I never thought I could do. It's weird. Weird. All right, moving on. The next really cool story, Sony at, I believe at TGS, announced that they're coming out with a new program called PSN Day One Digital. So what that is basically games that are new and awesome are going to be coming out on the PlayStation Network digitally on day one. They announced the program with 8 games, Resident Evil 6, which obviously is out, NBA 2K13, which is out already. Next week, we get Dishonored, Doom 3 BFG Edition, or wait, no, that's the week after. Doom 3 BFG Edition and 007 Legends.
I'm so excited for 007 Legends.
It looks really good. The week after, we get Medal of Honor Warfighter and Need for Speed Most Wanted Standard Edition.
That's going to be good too.
And Assassin's Creed 3. So games that obviously a lot of people are going to want, you can buy them digitally. You don't have to go to the store and pony over the cash. Really cool thing about this, you can pre-order them. And if you pre-order them at least the week before they come out, and you're a PlayStation Plus member, you get 10% off of most of these games. So you can already save like $6 on each of the games by pre-ordering before they come out, which is pretty cool. And the other really cool thing is for the month of October, Sony is running a program that says spend 100, get 20. So if you spend $100 on the PlayStation Network, you get a refund of $20 back. So you could buy 2 games and I don't know, a PSN title. Spend over the $100 and then you'll get $20 free, which will be kind of like half off of a game that you buy next month.
Yeah,
which
pretty
is
solid deal.
Which is pretty cool. I mean,
they don't have to give you anything really.
Exactly. It's like iTunes cards. Every once in a while you'll see $100 iTunes card on sale for $80. Same kind of deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, what do you think of Day One Digital? I think it's great. Although I still want to buy games in plastic cases.
Okay, so with all the agreeing I just did with you, I think this is really, really crappy as a deal because first of all, let me. All of the games are regular price, and I don't get a physical piece of media, and it's locked to that hard drive.
No,
don't think so.
No, it's locked to the account.
Sorry, not locked to the hard, not locked to the account.
Do you know what the best thing about this is? Before you continue with your rant,
okay, go ahead.
If you have multiple PlayStation 3s, you can download the game on multiple consoles and play them at the same time. So if a game like Resident Evil 6 has co-op, and you have 2 PlayStation 3s, you could play co-op with buying the game once. You don't have to buy 2 copies of the game, which is pretty cool.
That's cool, but who has 2 PlayStation 3s?
Trevor, my buddy Trevor. Not Trevor
okay.
that we just talked to, a different Trevor. He actually buys games digitally so him and his wife can play co-op together.
I think that's interesting, but I don't. And you know what? If I'm going to buy a game digitally, I expect at least $10 off a retail
Actually,
price.
In the chat room, the Trevor that we talked to does have 2 PlayStations.
Trevor betrayed me.
So there you go.
He betrayed me. He stabbed me in the back. But I mean, I just, if I'm going to buy a game that is not, like, I'm not getting a disc, I'm not getting a case, I'm not getting an instruction manual, I want that thing to be marked down. I mean, there's no excuse for me paying full price if I don't actually get a physical piece of media. And maybe I am, on the opposite side of the general consensus on that, but I think it's ridiculous to offer, like, I get the game on the same day. Why would I not go out and buy it with a case, something I can resell? That should be what they're trying to combat there, right? Like, we'll give you the game for, let's say, $15 less retail on the day of release, but you can't trade it in.
But see, they can't do that because then they're going to have places like Amazon. They're going to have places like EB Games. They're going to say, well, you know what? Screw you, EA, or screw you, Ubisoft. We're not going to sell your games anymore. We're not going to pre-order your games anymore. So they're mitigating some pain right now. In the future, that's what it's going to be. You can buy the game in store for full price, or you can get it for less online. Yeah. Like Nintendo's doing that right now, where on
yeah, exactly. It's a great system.
On the 3DS, where you buy the game for full price in store, and if you're a Club Nintendo member, you get 50 points for registering that game online. If you buy it digitally online, it automatically registers for 100 points. So you get double the Club Nintendo points. So they can't make the game any cheaper, but they're giving you something extra, I guess. So anyway,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I do, and I totally agree with you. I think that I think Nintendo's plan is also pretty good. For me though, and I understand what you're saying, because I do believe that eventually it will get to be that petty where it's like, well, you're going to offer a discount. We don't want your game in our store anymore. But
Mhm.
I think that's a long way down the line. I think at this point, even though the internet is big,
Yeah.
the install base is actually still, fairly low. I
Mhm.
mean, it's not in every household because it is still kind of expensive at some areas. And I think that even if it was a $10, savings, I'd probably still buy it as a physical piece of media
Yeah.
because I love to have that disc, and I think there's a lot of people out there who would.
I agree with you there. I want the disc. I don't
Yeah.
want to buy digitally. I don't want to buy anything digitally. But when PlayStation 3 first came out and they said that they're going to have, or when it was first not even out, it was coming out, and they were talking about their digital download strategy where they said every PlayStation 1 game, every PlayStation 2 game will all be playable on the system and digitally downloaded, and we're going to have PlayStation 3 games available day and date with the game coming out in stores. And you had EB Games essentially basically just started posturing and saying, you know what, we're not going to carry your system. We're not going to pre-order your system. And this was early on. This was 6 years ago. And they said, you know what, if you do this, we're out. We're not going to be selling Sony products. We'll sell them, but we're not going to be doing the big push that we normally would be doing for your system. So you had Sony kind of say, oh, hold on a second. Wait. And they backed off. And you didn't see games for a long time. Like, a game has to be pretty much in the bargain bin and coming out with a cheap version re-release to appear on the system as a full download. Now they've come to this and said, okay, we're going to do this, but we're going to have it at the exact same price, except if you're a PlayStation Plus member. So that gives you $5 off the game, which
But
is
you have to buy the PlayStation Plus.
Yeah, but you buy
it's a great value at this
for
point.
for
You will make that
$50
back in
for
10 minutes.
$50 you get 10 games immediately. Doesn't matter when you sign up. You sign up this month, there's 10 games that are free for you to download. You sign up next month, there's 10 games for free. So that is almost like a freebie. I don't even think of that as a cost for anybody anymore. You're buying it to get the free games. But now you're getting 10% off, which is kind of the carrot for people that are like, okay, I could go to the store and buy it, or I could save 10%. I buy 10 games, I get one free. It's like when you go to Subway, you buy, or Subway doesn't do it anymore. You go to Quiznos or whoever does that. You buy
sandwich cart.
you buy 10 things and you get the 11th free, and that is essentially what they're doing.
Loyalty program,
and that's what they're doing here, which I kind of like. But I'm not someone that's ever going to buy games digitally, at least until, I don't know, at least for a while.
Is better.
Yeah. I almost bought Borderlands 2 online, but I didn't. And I'm not going to. I'm going to be strong, and I'm going to buy my physical plastic discs that can spin at high velocity in my consoles of choice. And that's what I'm going to be doing.
The biggest thing for me, and just to kind of maybe just touch on one more thing before we move on to the last story of the day, is you had talked about roughly around half a decade ago when EB or GameStop or whoever it was kind of put their foot, like, drew a line in the sand essentially.
Yep.
I believe that was a bluff, and I believe Sony should have called them on their bluff, because if they don't have Sony products in the store, or if they don't, sell as many of them, they're not going to make it. Their entire business is based on selling the big three retailers of video games.
Right, but
I think that they made a bluff, and Sony didn't call it. Like, whoa, this, like the stodgy old people at the top were like, okay, we'll give them whatever they want. I think they should have called their bluff and said, you know what, then you're done.
They should have, but it's a symbiotic relationship. Both of them have a symbiotic relationship with each other. EB Games needs Sony because Sony releases the stuff that EB Games makes money on selling in the stores. On the other hand, EB Games pre-orders games, which gives numbers to Sony to kind of gauge how much of a particular product that they're going to sell. They know that if EB Games, say, has 20,000 pre-orders for, I don't know, Barbie's Horse Adventure 3, Jeff Ward's favorite game that he's waiting for.
I don't even think that, like, do you think that people don't know that that's my favorite game? It's all I talk about on Twitter.
That's right. That's what it is. But if they know that they have 40,000 pre-orders for this game, they can extrapolate and say, okay, 40,000 pre-orders for this game means that we could probably make 100,000 of these, and they will all sell because another 40,000 will go to Walmart and 10,000 will go to other hobby shops. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like the symbiotic relationship they have. So EB Games would probably still have sold Sony, but they wouldn't have pre-ordered things. They wouldn't have bought like an ass load of PlayStation 3 consoles that were super overpriced at the time. Crazy Ken Kutaragi wanted you to work 2 jobs to be able to afford the console.
What a dumbass that guy is.
This was really needed, but Sony really needed to have a partner like EB that was really pushing the product, because if you don't have someone advertising for you, that's a big chunk of the consumers are not going to know about that product. Not everybody reads blogs, not everybody listens to podcasts, not everybody watches commercials, right?
Yeah.
So
no, you're totally right.
I could see where it was, but it's getting to be less and less where that's really needed. And maybe next console they're going to need to kind of back up a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. The system's been out for what, 6 years now? I mean, they're free. Yeah. They're free to burn some bridges now, I think, with that particular console.
I think so, but is the risk that they will endanger the next console?
I don't think so. I mean, if they're selling the game for the same price, I mean, does it really bother EB Games that much? I don't think so.
No, and
I mean, it probably
still,
does, but not as much as,
because there's going to be that 1 or 2% that GameStop is not going to see anymore, and that's going to equate to around maybe a couple $1,000,000 a year in revenue. It's a couple million is probably a little bit light on what that 1 or 2% is, but it's just it's frustrating that, and we're kind of talking about it a little bit here in the chat room, but it's frustrating that GameStop has such a huge command on the industry.
Totally.
Because it's a horrendous store, and their service is brutal, and because they're so like corporate about video games, it just sucks all the life out of buying a video game. And I mean, they try to employ good people who are genuinely excited, but it's tough for me to kind of get on board with a store like that. But I mean, I can't disagree with you. You are right, which is kind of crappy, because I would love to say that you're wrong.
Can you ever say that though?
Many times.
I'm just always right, Jeff.
I can say it all the time, but that doesn't mean that I'm
makes
right about you being wrong.
That makes you wrong about me being wrong.
Exactly.
So I'm right twice. It doubles my rightness.
Yeah, exactly. You're like right squared, essentially.
But yeah, no, I know what you're saying, and I get your arguments as well, but I don't know. I think this is a good move. I'm not going to use it, but I know a lot of people that would. There's a lot of people that don't ever want to leave their house. Like, you can't rent games anymore, so they don't ever want to go to a store to buy a game, and they can't rent it, so they're gonna buy them digitally. I don't like not having something in my hand when I buy a game. Like, it took me forever to get over buying games on iOS. Only when games dropped to 99 cents I was like, okay, I can throw my 99-cent money into a big pit that I'll never get back. That's okay.
It's like whatever. It's $1, right? It's like less than a coffee.
Exactly, but yeah, like buying a $60 game, I don't get it, especially since I could wait a few months and buy it digitally for $30. I don't need to get it on day one if it's not a game that I want to get on day one. Anyway, that's enough.
The thing is, like, if it does, you do buy it on day one, you're probably going to play it on day 2, like late day 2, early day 3 by the time it downloads and installs.
Yeah.
And then your system doesn't update.
Yeah, the slowness on PSN it drives me insane. But yeah, it's actually not bad. I downloaded Borderlands 1, which was like 6 gigs or something crazy, and I downloaded it overnight, and I woke up the next morning bright and early and it was already downloaded, and my system turned itself off. It was pretty cool.
All I tried to do was open up the PlayStation Store on my Vita today.
But that's the Vita.
I had to do an update.
But that's the Vita. Vita's slow when it comes to those types of things. They get more updates than the PlayStation.
It's a lot faster.
Really?
To download, it's a lot faster than PS3.
That's
by
cool.
Almost a third.
Wow. Okay, well, that's not too bad then. I know they get more updates than PS3.
Yeah, we're on 1.8.1 now.
If you had the Plus, if you had PlayStation Plus, I think it would auto-download your updates as well. I think it does it on the Vita.
I think you're right on that too. And I'm actually kind of like, I'm still waffling back and forth on whether or not I should get a PlayStation Plus, because, when I start up my PlayStation, it starts usually on the store tab or whatever, and it shows me, or
all
it
the
does
free
like a thing where
games.
it says like, here's 10 games you get for free, and I'm like, God, there's a lot of games in there that I want to play. Like, it's $50. What the hell what's wrong with me?
I have an old PlayStation 3, like one of the, not the original ones, but probably like the second wave of PlayStation 3. It was a 60 gig console. It's still backwards compatible with PlayStation 2 games, which is kind of nice. But my hard drive started to die. And then I read online that in that model, and up until like, I think the Slim, any PlayStation 3, you could upgrade your hard drive without any sort of doctoring. You just take out the drive, put a new one in. So I put a 250 gig hard drive in my PlayStation 3. So I'm going to be downloading every single free game and just keep them all on my hard drive. I'm going to have like a library of 80 games that I've never played, but they're free, so I'm downloading them, and I'm going to keep them because I'm going to keep re-upping my PlayStation Plus membership every year.
Yeah, it's good.
Cool. Okay, last story, Jeff. Why don't you take this one, because this is something that I don't own.
Yeah, so this is actually kind of cool, and unfortunately, I only own one half of it. But PlayStation Mobile launched today, and by today I mean October 3rd. But it's available for the Vita and select PlayStation certified Android devices, which what the hell are like Xperia Play, right? Like the devices like that.
Yeah. There's a couple other ones. They've only certified, I think, a dozen or so Android devices to use the PlayStation Mobile branding, whatever that is.
So what it kind of does is allows indie developers, what it does is allows indie developers to sell their games on the PlayStation Store.
Yep.
And they are charged like $99, I think it is.
Yeah, it's just like
license.
Yeah, it's just like the Apple App Store. You pay your $100 a year to get a license to be able to produce content, and then you can actually drop your content on the PlayStation Store, the PlayStation Mobile Store. It's a separate sub store to the PlayStation Store.
Yeah, I think it actually might be an application that you download from the store.
I think it is. So you can take that content and you can play it on your Vita. Which basically turns the Vita into kind of like an iOS device in some ways, because you can get cheap games. Like I believe the cheapest game you can get is 79 cents, all the way up to, I think some of the games are $6. So basically that's really cool. Like as a developer, like who wouldn't want to pay $99 to get a chance to develop on Sony's like hardware?
Yeah, and on a flagship piece of hardware too. I mean, this, I believe, and anytime Sony does something new that's supposed to be big, I'm excited, but I'm like reserved how excited I am, like almost cautiously excited, because I know that this could be really, really good for the Vita if Sony does it right. And I say that a lot on the show, right? Like this could be great if Sony does it right, and then they never do it right. Yeah. So I feel like, not that this is going to make or break the Vita, but it could add a lot of value to a platform that is I mean, let's just say it is struggling big time because the price point is still too high. But yeah, this could add a lot of value for people who, let's say they want a PlayStation Vita, play a ton of games on their iPhone. Now we've got this store where I can go in and I can buy $1, $2, $3 games. And they're nice little indie games that, aren't going to be like AAA titles, but you could see something on there that is the next Angry Birds. I mean, really, it's kind of exciting. Now, the thing is, I haven't downloaded this yet. I probably won't, because I'm not really into indie games that much. It's weird that the only indie games I play are games that aren't even indie by the time I get to them, because they've become so big, like Flower, Minecraft. I did get into Minecraft pretty early, but it was huge by the time I was into it. So I don't get into indie games when it's like, hipster indie, when there's like 3 people playing it. I'm there way after.
I played that game before it was popular.
Exactly, right. I played that game before it was made. That's what we're dealing with. But it's a cool system. I hope that it gets the support that Sony thinks it's going to get. Yeah. I don't even know how many games are on there, to be perfectly honest. So it'll be something I'll download tonight and talk about next week.
Yeah, there's a chunk of them. Like there's Cannibal. It's basically
that's awesome.
It's popular iOS games have been ported to this. Which is,
it says there's 20 launch games.
20 launch games. Okay. So yeah. And I think as a developer, you have to go through some certifications on your game. It's not as bad. Like, I don't believe you have to send it to the ESRB. But there's some certifications that's done before it's on the device. But yeah, like I guess that's going to lead us to a future where, I don't know. I don't want to say EA because they probably wouldn't do it, but some big like developer like Crescent Moon Games, they make a really great like 3D kind of Oblivion style RPG. So they could release this game on the iOS App Store, on the Android App Store, and then on PlayStation Mobile all at the same time, basically tripling the possible platforms that they can put it on. That's pretty cool. I don't want to see games only come to PlayStation Mobile, because then I'll be sad that I can't have them on my iPad. But at the same time, I'd rather play a lot of games that I'm playing on my iOS on a Vita, because it has physical buttons, which you don't have on your iPhone or your iPad. So I see some bonuses each way. Hopefully it takes off. Like, I'm tempted to just spend $100 and just throw up like a tech demo and mess around with a Vita like that. How cool would that be? So
yeah, I mean, it is something you could do, and it's, yeah, I don't know if it would be a waste of money, because
I'm already an iOS developer, and I have a dev account, and I write apps.
Yeah.
Like I write utility apps just for myself. If I need
just
to
see what it's capable of, right?
Well,
I mean,
like if I have to do something at work, like if I need to keep track of server IPs or something equally as lame, I'll write a small app, and I'll just keep it on my iPhone, so I can have the app on my iPhone. I could do something similar on my Vita, like write a little game, and not that anybody else would ever want to play it, because I don't have enough time to really sit and do that. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. $100, you can write your own apps. Like, people have been wanting to do this forever, which is why there's always been, like, the PSP was hacked to run homebrew, and then people hacked that homebrew hack to then run pirated software. This gets rid of.
I love that hacks are being hacked. That's how deep the it's so meta at this point.
Well, yeah, because it was funny, because the original person that hacked the PSP to allow for homebrew did it in such a way that it didn't allow actual ISOs to be run. So people like kind of took what he did and disassembled it and looked at it and then changed it so that ISOs could be run. So this basically gets rid of that. So it's not going to kill the platform, because there's no hacking, there's no piracy, which is great. But then it allows homebrew people that want to make their own homebrew apps to release it on the App Store. I don't believe it allows free games though. I think you have to charge. I think you have to charge at least 99 cents. So. Yeah. No one's going to be releasing like a free version of like VLC or some other app that you would have on your PC.
And unfortunately, because these games are so small, there's also going to be no demos. But at 99 cents, it's a risk that anyone can afford to take. Really.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
And because of the launch library, you spend 99 cents on Cannibal. You probably already know what you're getting yourself into, right? There's going to be no surprises with that game, because of, they're just kind of repurposed iOS games. But, if this thing turns into a iOS port hub, I don't even think I could be angry about that, right? Like, oh, you just ripped off a bunch of iOS games. Like, oh, you know what? Who cares? I've got iOS games on my Vita now. Yep. Granted, they're probably the ones I've already bought on here. Why would I pay for them again? But if you don't have an iOS device, PS Vita's starting to look a little bit sweeter.
Exactly. Cool. All right. Well, that's going to about do it for this episode. We're wanting to do a question period, but we don't have any email. So guys, send in your emails, vgpodcast@gmail.com, and join us for our live shows every Friday at 10 p.m. Central. We do live shows, and then you can ask your questions right in the chat room, like the people that are in the chat room did not do this week, so we can't talk about that.
It died down really quickly here I think Quacko fell asleep. He's gone. He's got like a kid or like a job or a life or something.
I think he drooled on his keyboard.
I don't know what the hell his
shorted out.
is.
Cool. So guys, thanks for subscribing. Thanks for staying tuned and listening to the show. As I said, we do this live every Friday at 10 p.m. Central. Check us out, vgpodcast.com/live. You can head on over to vgpodcast.com and click contact us at the top of the page. Email us directly at vgpodcast@gmail.com, or call our voicemail line, which is area code 505 VG Podcasts. Leave a comment and we'll play it in a future episode of the show. So thanks again to Trevor for joining us for a Resident Evil review. That was really great.
Yeah, and I appreciate him coming on, and he was taking notes all week and stuff like that. Although it kind of happened with the Borderlands review, because I don't have much to say about it. I didn't want it to be a one-sided conversation where I just gush and then tell you not to buy it if you're not a fan. So kind of good to get a different voice in there every once in a while. Yeah,
exactly. Cool, guys. All right, so we'll talk to you next week. That's it for episode 10. Take it easy, guys, and we'll talk to you next week.
See you later.
Later.
Let's get started.